In this lesson, we'll show you how to find indexes you aren't using, if any, and remove them to improve overall database performance. Why delete indexes? Indexes improve read speed, but they do have a downside. They have to be kept up to date. When you write index data to a table, you also need to update each index on that data and do it in lockstep with your write. That means a transaction, every time. If you're using an index regularly, then this is a price that's well worth paying, because indexes are so good at making your reads efficient. But sometimes you'll find yourself in a situation where an index isn't getting used by your queries. Maybe you have another index that does the job better, or maybe the index was built for a query your application no longer performs. In that case, you'll want to delete your unused index so the database can stop updating it. Identifying and deleting unused indexes. The easiest way to determine which index you aren't using in CockroachDB is to query the internal system table that tracks index usage. Let's start with the query itself. This shows us all of our indexes for this database. I've just created those indexes and run a set of sample queries to generate usage statistics for the users table, which is why the number of reads is so low. Still, from this I can see that the indexes lastname IDX and email IDX aren't getting used. I can also rerun my sample set of queries, then rerun my index usage query to see the results update. With this query, you can see which indexes are being used rarely and how recently each was queried. Unless you expect to use them again, it's probably safe to drop the indexes you're not using, but keep in mind that even rarely used queries can impact performance when they occur if they're not supported by an index. In this case, I can see that email IDX and lastname IDX are not being used by my queries. Let's delete them. Checking for unsupported indexes. Having just deleted some indexes, I'd like to be able to double check just to make sure that my queries are still supported by my indexes. Let's go to the DB console. Go to SQL Activity and then Statements. This tells you your recent queries, and it's conveniently sorted by the number of times each query has been executed recently. I'm going to reset SQL statistics, rerun my sample queries, and refresh the page to make sure I'm only capturing data since I've dropped those indexes. The show database command that's being logged here is from internal operations of the cluster, so ignore that. Notice that the operations are ordered by execution count, with the most common queries coming first. Also, notice that each query has a rows red column. I happen to know that my users table has 10,000 rows. Any query that doesn't use an index would have to read all 10,000 rows to find its results. The most rows red that I can see here is 61, which is less than 1% of the table rows. That tells me that all of my sample queries are being supported by an index. If I'd found that I'd accidentally dropped an important index, I'd be able to see it here. Let's review. In this lesson, we've learned why unused indexes can be a drag on performance, how to query your index usage statistics to find unused indexes and drop them, and how to check your SQL stats to verify you haven't accidentally deleted an index you don't use. And that's what you need to know about eliminating unused indexes.